Feel free to continue sharing your experience and opinions and thoughts in the chat. And now let me welcome Lorenzo here on the stage. Lorenzo is a designer, art director, and culture producer. He is based in Eindhoven, and he brings his design background in the culture field as culture producer and curator, especially for events in the field of visual arts, digital cinema, audiovisual performance, and video art. You could see his work, for example, as part of Dutch Design Week. You might notice also his work because he's editor-in-chief of Fictional Journal, which is a platform and online publication investigating design's involvement within society. So there are many things that Lorenzo stands behind. And in a minute, he will share about the experience and the exhibition, Economia video exhibition, which is, as I found out, online festival about economy without economics on the stage. So I think that you'll have to explain this to us, and also
we will.
What is the story behind? How did you create it? And what are your key learnings? So welcome, and the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. Yes, it might sound like I'm doing totally different things in my life and nothing at the same time, but but it's good to be here. Thanks for the invitation, and it's nice to be amongst these very inspiring speakers today. Okay, let me just. You see my presentation? Yes, I think so. Okay. Yeah, it's a fact. I think many speakers before me told this, but this year we couldn't visit an exhibition online. We couldn't share the same space with an artwork, go around it, and also appreciate the materiality of the artwork. So we couldn't actually enjoy a designed experience of artworks, like the curation of it, and the dialogue between the artworks, the space, and the people in it might be we with our friends on or other people joining in the event itself. This dialogue, I find that it's most of the time a bit lost online. And sometimes, as we see it also from the previous presentation, the exhibition could be these 2D layers, sometimes it's very graphical, or you can give an illusion of space to 3D models. But in the end, everything is mediated by a 2D thing, that is the screen. So in the end, it becomes 2D in a way. That's why it's a challenge to create an online event that doesn't take away an environment, that doesn't take away the attention from the artwork. And if you see in also in a very nice VR exhibition, often there is this kind of imbalance between the medium and the content of it. And when adopting a new medium, there is always this kind of risk that you try to imitate reality and without fully explore the form and the possibility of that specific medium. Today, I'm going to talk about a visual exhibition. So it's one specific case study that was part of the Economia Festival, as Agnieszka said before. In this case, a video exhibition for us was important, that the purpose was not to replicate a physical exhibition, but to find a new format that can achieve the same goal, but with a different shape and form. But also being able to kind of introduce some elements of materiality in this mediated experience. So, as Agnieszka already mentioned, I'm a curator of and art director at Baltan Laboratories. That is a platform based in Eindhoven, Netherlands, that works on experimentation on the crossroad of art, design, science, and technology. And we at Baltan try to bridge the gap between the different disciplines. As you see in this picture, we have this huge neon saying the true method of knowledge is experiment. And trying to gap this discipline, the gap between discipline, we take as a core of our activity art and design, especially focusing on the pitfalls, the implication and promises of our technological society. One very important belief we have is the artist as the fundamental researcher of the 21st century, because its ability of ask fundamental questions, but also stealing different knowledge from different fields without being an expert in any of those fields. And in this approach, it could kind of bring unexpected outcome. So that's really important for us to have this view of the artist as a researcher, not just as somebody who makes something for the sake of it. So as I was telling you before, I would like to focus on the Economia, the limited edition. That it's a festival exactly on economy without economists, in the sense that we try to see how different fields would approach the rethinking economy, and considering the economy not like a law of nature, something that we cannot change, but something that we kind of artificial, that human made, and so therefore that we can change. Specifically, this edition is called the limited edition because it's about limiting the growth of our economy and humanity, since the biosphere, the planet in which we are, in the end, is as big as it gets. And one of the fundamental questions that we tried to approach was what kind of economic system does not worship unlimited growth as its ultimate goal, and which kind of other models we can develop that are in sync with the social and planetary boundaries. So the festival started to be a 2-3 days festival in May 2020, but of course, because of COVID, it was to totally be reinvented, and it became like a 5-month long trajectory, so a very extended transformation, I would say. This festival was then divided in few parts. It was one laboratory. There was basically talks, keynotes, game session, a conference of today that happened in September 2020, the video exhibition that I would walk you through, and then a publication that became a sort of online course in which we kind of collect all the knowledge that we created during the festival, and we will share it with a group of students in May 2021. So that's still to come. So the focus of today will be video exhibition, but I think it's interesting to quickly look at the design of the total event in its transition to the online, and also will make sense to explain part of the design of the expo itself. So we started with the graphic design and identity as one of the first things we did in February last year, and it took a few months to arrive to the final design of it. The challenge was to talk about economy without being that literal. So we tried to dive into the world of labels, packages, the aesthetics of barcodes, country codes, QR codes, and also this handwritten with the marker that sometimes you find on boxes. And of course, one of a very important topic was also nature, and we try to evoke nature, not showing something natural therefore, but in the use of these patterns and texture that they are kind of inspired by stains, water stains, bacteria, dirt, something you can find on a wall or on a box, on a piece of paper that it's rotting, and we matched that with those other symbols to create something that in the end was very abstract, but for us was a good compromise not to talk about also nature and economy in a way too a bit literal. The graphic identity was then adapted in different ways for social media, but mainly on our website, and we developed this website with Gabriela Baca and also the department. And in the website, you see the identity a bit kind of becoming an animation as well, that then disappears and gives and it suddenly appears in the background like this mold that is emerging from the background. we also here experiment with the label. You see it in the text how keywords are coming up, and so we tried also to adapt it and to the online environment. And basically, it became a sort of agenda for events that were happening every 2 weeks, and so it really was used more to announce and also for the streaming of the talk and the lecture we had. Another format we decided to challenge was the one of the online lecture and talks. At that time, many people were doing still events on Zoom, and we wanted to do something that was more produced in the end, to have some a video of the lecture that can stay afterwards, that has a longer shelf life, that also the speaker could use for its own promotion afterwards. So what we did, we asked speakers to film themselves, and then we received this material when possible. We also went there to film them. We edit this material, we add visual identity on it, we add references. So when you talk, you also hear, you see the references they're mentioning, you also see the videos they are discussing. It's not just looking at somebody in front of a camera. It turns out to be hell of a work of a job, because of course a lot of things need to be figured out and sometimes not that practical for people to film themselves. But it became a very, very diverse panorama of videos, like performances, chroma key videos, meditation session about the economy, so very, very diverse. The lecture was then pre-recorded, was streamed online on Facebook and YouTube, and we had always a Q&A with the speaker that was then present in Zoom, like we are now, but with the audience also visible. So the audience can ask directly a question to the speaker with his own voice, and they can have a discussion and a dialogue together. And that was really a success, because we had like Q&A that were lasting more than the talking themselves. And also because the discussion was very comfortable. People were on the same level, talking from their living room. So everybody was chill, relaxed. And also the speaker, he was not tired, because he didn't do the talk in that specific moment, but he pre-recorded. So it felt like having a second lecture after the proper one, because of the setting of our conference. Just to give you an idea, I'll show you like 1-2 minutes of a collection of the video of the different lectures, just to give an idea of how it was designed. Do you hear the sound? No? Okay.
No, we don't hear the sound.
Okay. I will share it. Again. Yes. Okay.
Before the coin lands,
Now?
you know what to do. It is not so much that the coin will give you the answer. It will make you answer by pretending to answer for you. As if the solution to uncertainty is not certainty, but bluff.
And she said to me, "Are you ready?" I said, "Yeah, I think so. Don't know for what I had to be ready, but I know if someone in Africa asks you that, you say, yes, I'm ready." And she walked with me into the bush. And we walked, and then we entered a cave. And we went deep into the cave. It was pitch dark in the cave. I don't know how long I've been there. An hour, 2 hours, 10 minutes, half a day, no idea. Mama Gerda came and got me. And she saw me and she said, "Now you're ready."
The word growth is rooted in the Proto-Germanic word grü, which means something like the land becoming green again in the beginning of spring. By giving a word to this specific moment in time and then extracting it from that particular context and time frame, as alphabet-based languages tend to do, its meaning and our intimate understanding of it mutated and was corrupted. Grue originally takes place in relation to what went before and what will come after.
What it's telling us, the way we're behaving with money, is telling us that we believe that in the future there's going to be a highly successful, vibrant economy, highly productive, highly wealthy, which is able to pay down that debt. And my central point is that it's not going to happen.
Trust has a soulmate. She's called money and will be our guide.
So here's an example that we worked with L'Oreal at one of their headquarters here in the Netherlands. It has around 250 staff in it. In the end of the first month, we had 75% of the staff actually sign up and use it. They carried out 4,000 actions in 1 month, and that equates or created a CO2 reduction of 8,000 kilograms, which is more than 60 flights from Amsterdam to Paris.
So you got how diverse was the mix, and there was also a lot of fun also to come up with ways to show the different content. In the end, you don't just give a stage, but you produce the content with the speaker, so it was really engaging. So in this event, we were planning actually to have an exhibition physically during Dutchess Week. That was October 2020. But what happened is that just 2 weeks before, they told us, okay, this is not going to happen. So can you imagine, you have already scheduled all the shipping, things were already arriving. And we said, okay, what we do now? So in the end, I think I realized that actually we had the work for those 2 weeks of Dutchess Week. So why not shoot a video exhibition during Dutchess Week, because the work were already coming to Eindhoven, and then present it later. And so the initial idea was staging the artwork in what should have looked like a movie set. So not a video of an exhibition, but create total different look of what an exhibition could be. In this concept of the movie set, all the cameras, all the equipment would stay in the shot. So you're gonna see lights, cameras, tripods. And I started kind of fantasizing a bit with this idea, and I bounced this idea with my collaborators from Big Architecture, and they liked it. And it was for them also a good way to still do the expo, because you want to pay the artists, you want to pay people involved, especially in this difficult moment. You want that culture goes on also in this situation we are living. But of course, we needed to build an exhibition just for 2 days. So you don't want to also, you want to walk your talk, especially if we were talking about sustainability. We didn't want to then build something for just 2 days. So we came up with this idea of actually to go for a design that was mainly using video equipment that we rented in the end for the occasion. And we just used few extra elements. You will see later, I will show you later what are those extra elements. And so there were different sets, now you see this dolly track, and we were trying different ways how to perform the work. And it was interesting to experiment with those different ideas. But in the end, the reason why I introduced you before all the graphics, because we also figured out at the end, those artworks were shipped to us and they come in boxes. And boxes have, of course, they have labels. They were looking like our graphic identity. So we say, okay, maybe we can use this element itself to see that artworks in the end, when they are traveled, are like the shoes you buy on Zalando, you know, and they become artwork when they are taken out of their boxes and they're put it on a pedestal. So we decided to play also with this element and to make it a bit performative, and to use this element of unboxing. You see it a lot in YouTube videos, and makes also a nice reference to the concept itself. So in the end, we come up to this sort of setting in which you have a dolly loop that's going around. Pedestal, they are made out of boxes with elements on top to make it rigid enough to contain the work. And all, in the end, we try to make because that was our purpose, to make the visual experiments of the work tangible. Because in the work itself, you see, in the video itself, you see works that are being transported. So you kind of feel the weight of the artwork. You see them changing light while they are navigating in the space before arriving on the pedestal. And also the camera work was made in a way that you can actually enter into the artwork, almost you can touch it. And in the meanwhile, you have a voiceover of the artist describing it and also what was the process behind. But also the camera take the subjective view of the artwork and show the camera operator. So you have this kind of switching of roles between the observed and the observer. Now I will show you one extract from the first chapter, because it was divided in 3 chapters, this exhibition. The first chapter was called Nature's Economy, and just one of the articles, so you get an idea of how was the entire exhibition made.
Viral nature is a composite material, 84% organic, able to host life. Fertile and easy to shape, the mix can be employed to cast complex structures made to grow into living botanical sculptures. The viral nature mix, with its biostructural ability, provides the opportunity to materialize a reality able to communicate interactively and through direct emotional and physical experience what a life integrated with nature could really feel like.
So here you just see a few elements very quickly from the exhibition. You see that the white top that was made out of wood to make it bearable for it to sustain the artworks, and they was divided in chapters, so they were all standing towards the dolly loop, and also video artworks. So now you see those images. Basically, they are just trackers in which you can put on top videos in a way that they are then maintaining the position when the camera is moving. And that are just a camera shooting on a camera, just to have this kind of meta image of the artwork. And here are details of one of the artwork also on their pedestals. And another way that the exhibition materialized itself was in an issue from Fictional Journal, in which we create this 3D render that was made through photogrammetric 3D scanning. So basically it's taking different pictures, and the software is putting it together into a software, and basically it became the index of the issue of the Fictional Journal. You can navigate in the space. It's very low-fi, low poly, because actually in the video you have already a very, very real experience of it. We wanted to have something a bit more abstract, and we liked it in the way it looks, and also was kind of lighter for the website itself. So it was also a practical reason in the end. And basically you see the same artwork. By pressing on different one, you get a brief description, and then you can basically enter. Now we'll enter one of the artwork, and there you get an article or an essay or whatever it was the contribution about. In the same article, then you see also they're part of the model playing. So it was interesting visually also to integrate this part in describing the artwork. So that was it. Thanks for your attention, and I hope there are questions, and let's see what do you think about this. It's a very different approach. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Lorenzo. I appreciate this very different approach because it just shows us how different, and it's actually good, that we have so many different perspectives on art, on video art, online, because that's what shape our thoughts and ideas. So I really appreciate all of that. And before I start asking my questions, because I already have few, I'd like to invite audience to ask questions in chat or in the Q&A feature. We have now time for it. Actually, I was thinking when you were talking about, the way how you prepared the exhibition, that you faced like double challenge, because first one was how to create video exhibition in a really unusual way. There was like one challenge, and the second one suddenly to bring everything online.
Yeah.
So and to connected to it, I'm also thinking, what is your standpoint as a video artist to platforms such YouTube or Vimeo? Because your videos can be played there really easily, but it's maybe not enough. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. It was a challenge. I mean, already in May was a challenge to change everything, and then for a second time a challenge to change in 2 weeks all what was planned. So yeah, we are starting getting a bit frustrated with all the challenges this period give us. But in the end, I think was a very positive one, because we were trying to find ways that were not 3D or based, or we had ideas of making a sort of documentary inside of the space. But in the end, we said, okay, if it has to be something online, it maybe has its own totally different shape. And we wanted to do it anyway, because, you already have kind of agreement with the artist. You want still to promote the artist. You want to pay the artist. You don't want just to, like a bubble, pop out and then disappear. So it was, for me, a way to look what I want to see when I want to have a physical experience of artwork, what kind of level of closeness, what kind of level of touching it, kind of give the experience of it with just looking at it. So it's, of course, it's not the same thing, but it makes you also kind of perceive the artwork in its shape. It's moving in the space. It's not flat in one corner. There are some performative element on top, and of course, yeah, the platform were limiting a lot. YouTube and Vimeo. Also in terms of timing for streaming, sometimes also taking parts of the copyright of maybe music put in the video was creating a lot of problem because was blocking the content. So we had to play with the limitation there, and we find also in the conversation with artists, they were super enthusiastic of this idea. So they were all for doing it, and they were completely happy about it, even if it's, of course, ending up in one platform that can make the use that they want out of that video. But in another way, a lot of people, if you have 6 months, basically a lot of followers come, and so they subscribe and they start to see the content that you're engaging people in a longer time. In a festival, normally you have 2 days. People are overloaded with information. They don't know what to choose. They have to make choices. In the end, they don't see most of the things. So I think that was also a learning point to maybe take more time to give the talks, the exhibition, the time it deserves to be made, and build a fan base that you bring with you also in discovering the artwork and following the content that you are creating.
Has the crisis actually given you some inspiration for exhibition, or maybe some new ideas or themes that you hadn't had before?
Yeah, I think, of course, we can always say crisis bring, limitation brings always kind of inspiration, but of course, it would preferable to have that inspiration without. But I think it showed us also that sometimes you limit the public also to your own region. And of course, in this way, a lot of people from all over the world could join. So you close one window and you open a big door in the same time. And so I think, it sparks a sort of ability to readapt quickly. And then I think this is good, but at some point it's not healthy as well if it's too long. So we hope that we can come up within a situation in which we don't have to deal with the urgency of it, but we can actually come up with new format because we want to, not because we have an external situation that pushes us to do it. But in the end, it was a challenging and very fine, and it was good to also do this presentation because I went back to see, and it was a lot of work, and I didn't kind of picture it till now. That was really a long process, but I'm super happy of it in the end. So in the end, it was good.
And I like to bridge to the topic of the education, because you are also an external mentor in different Dutch universities, and so it means like you are really actively are involved in educating the new generation of artists and curators. So I'm thinking, from the experience you just have with such crisis, bringing everything online, how do you think that the curriculum will have to change? So even the new generation of the students that are currently there start thinking and adapting to the new situation.
Yeah, I think I'm also a student myself in this period as well. I'm doing another master, so I feel, wow, there is really a huge difference. From one side, it's good because you can basically do everything from your desk, also going to school, but you really missed, I think, for certain kind of topics, and also in the practice of a designer, of course, you have to prove, you have to test, you have to fail, you have to make mistake. And of course, in an online environment, and also in online design, that it's sometimes very easy to come back. You cannot fail that big sometimes. It's always a bit in control. So I think future education in this kind of, especially in design and art, it's about giving space for failure that is still a physical one. And also creating occasion. I mean, I find, especially for myself, in the end, when you can go physically to school, going to physically to school means more than the class itself, but to be with other people discussing what you just did, and not maybe the class you still do it online, but to kind of create those moments of sharing the knowledge that is not class in the group itself. I think it's fundamental for it to become to still be healthy and not become just another Zoom call that you have during the day. And so those, I think, are the challenges. And of course, yeah, in the material education, or whether you are a designer or an artist, if you are able to still to do your practice at home and have that dimension, it's good. But of course, you need tools, you need machines, you need also a laboratory where you can actually, a workshop in which you can do stuff. If you're able to have that dimension in your studio, then it's good. But otherwise, yeah, it's becoming a bit too much immaterial and abstract in itself. So
yeah, got it. Yeah, these are really good thoughts, and maybe we have some students in the audience, so they could share their experience or thoughts on it. I think it's really a lot about dialogue between the students and their tutors to find out the way how to manage the current situation. So really feel free to use the chat again and discuss. And Lorenzo, thanks a lot. We'll move to Helena now. So Helena, welcome.